All right, so today we are on 2.6 and we are going to graph linear inequalities. And then part B we'll do graphing absolute value equations. But right now just focusing on graphing linear inequalities. So just a couple of reminders here. You're going to be graphing out a line and then you're going to be shading on one side or the other. But to be able to do this, remember we've got dashed lines and we've got solid lines and when we're going to graph these. So if you have this first symbol here, right there, that is the less than symbol there. And I'll point to it instead. That is a less than symbol there. And this one here is the greater than symbol. When you don't have that nice little line underneath it, it requires a dashed line or a dotted line. And then the next symbol here is the less than or equal to or the greater than or equal to. So now we're talking about these two signs right there. And they require a solid line. So fill those in on your 2.6 notes there. So let's go on and let's look at some examples now. Example 1 says graph each linear inequality. So we're going to graph this just like we graphed our other lines that we have done. Knowing this is in y equals mx plus b form, with m being our slope, which is our rise over run, which in our case there, it's our 3. And then the y-intercept there is our b value, which is 1. So we're going to start on our graph over here on the y-intercept here at 1. And then we're going to rise 1, 2, 3, 3, and run 1. Rise 3 and run 1. So once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and connect those points. And remember, as we're connecting these, we're thinking back at the symbol here of what we just talked about over here. We talked about that this symbol here is less than or equal to, or just as less than there, so it has to be a nice dashed line. So now we got to decide how we're going to shade this in. So we're going to either shade it on the left-hand side of that line, or we're going to shade down here on the right-hand side or the below the line here. So to do that, just pick a point that's not on the line. So a point that's not on the line is clearly 0, 0 is not on that line. So I'm going to pick 0, 0, and I'm going to put 0 in for x, and I'm going to put 0 in for y up here. So if I plug in 0 for y, I plug in 0 for x, I'm going to see if this holds true. So 0 is less than 0 plus 1 here is just 1. Is 0 less than 1? Yes, 0 is less than 1. So since that is true, that 0 is less than 1, I'm going to shade on the side where this point over here that I put on here is. So I'm going to shade on this side. If, however, it wasn't true, then I would shade on the opposite side. I'd go on this side and shade in. So now let's look there at example 2 there, example B. Again, we're graphing the linear inequality here. So if I write this out, y equals mx plus b. Our m value is what's in front of our x there, which is just m is our slope. And it's just 1 over 1, which is going to be our rise over our run. And then if you remember, our b value there ends up being our y-intercept, which is 5, or negative 5 actually. So we're going to start on our graph here at negative 5. That's our y-intercept. And we're going to use our slope there. So from that point, we're going to rise 1, run 1. Rise 1, run 1. And then connect our dots. Now to connect our dots again, we got to decide what we're going to do. So to do that, we're looking at our symbol there. Our symbol there is greater than or equal to. There's a line underneath that. So that means that our line over there has to be solid. So there it is. And then letter C there, it says 4x plus y is less than or equal to negative 1. Now I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this. I'm going to leave the y on this side, and I'm going to move the 4x on the other side. To do that, I got to do the opposite, which is subtract 4x. So I get y is less than or equal to negative 4x minus 1. So now that I have this written here, I can go ahead and identify my pieces again. So my slope here is my m value, which is -4 over 1, which is my rise over my run. My y-intercept is my b value, which ends up being -1. So starting down here at -1, and our gonna rise over run. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and run 1. And I could go the opposite way too. Now I could go up 4 and run 1 to the left. So connect those. When I connect them, I gotta go back up here and look at my inequality symbol, and it is less than or equal to. So when I connect my points this time, it has to be a solid line, and it's got that equals underneath it. And now we just gotta decide how we're gonna shade this in. Pick a point that's not on that line. Most of the time, if 0, 0 is on the line, I'm gonna probably pick it. So I'm gonna pick 0, 0 and put it back in there. So if I do that, I get 0, 4 times 0, 0, plus 0. Is that less than or equal to -1? 0, is that less than or equal to -1? No, 0 is not less than or equal to -1. 0 is greater than, so no. So I'm not going to shade on the side where 0, 0 is. I'm going to shade on the opposite side. So there's our graph. And then we've got letter D here. Now letter D here, we've got a nice, if you see this, you only have a y is greater than or equal to -1. Remember, when you got a y equals, this is a horizontal line. If you have a hard time remembering that, remember we can put it in y equals mx plus b form. We'd have to put this in there. So our y-intercept there, again, is 1. And it has a slope of 0. And the slope of 0 is just going to give us right here. So we're just going to draw a nice horizontal line right through. Oops. Look what I just did. I just did 1 and it says -1. Y-intercept there is -1. So I got to change that. Bring that down here to -1. Did not look at the symbol signs there. All right. So now let's go back up here and look at the symbol up there. The symbol that's up there is greater than or equal to -1. So again, pick a point not on that line. So I'm going to pick 0, 0. It's not on that line. So picking 0, 0. I'm going to plug 0 in here for y. Is 0 greater than or equal to -1? No. I mean, yes, 0 is greater than or equal to -1. So yes, it is. So this time, since 0 is greater than or equal to -1, we're going to shade above the line. So there it is all. So we got 2 more here, and you could pause it right now if you want and just try these on your own, see if you can do them, and then turn it back on and see if you did it correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and graph these out here. I've got x plus y here is greater than 6, so I could go ahead and bring over and put it in y equals mx plus b form, so y is greater than -x plus 6. And again, my y-intercept here is 6, so I'm going to graph my y-intercept. My slope here is -1 over 1, so I'm going to come down 1 and run 1 to the right, come down 1, run 1 to the right, come down 1, run 1 to the right. Now look at, we've got greater than, since it's got a greater than symbol, and there's no line underneath it, I've got to go ahead and put a dashed line through this one. And then I got to decide which side I'm going to shade this in. So I got to pick a point not on that line, maybe like 0, 0. So I'm going to plug 0 in here and 0 in here. So I get 0 plus 0 is 0. Is 0 greater than 6? Is 0 is not greater than 6? 0 is less than 6. So I'm not going to shade on the side where 0, 0 is. I'm going to shade on the opposite side. And then letter F over there, we have to graph that inequality. So let's try that one. Again, I'm going to try to get this so it's y equals. So I'm going to bring 6 over on the other side first. So I get 9x plus 3y is less than or equal to 6. I'm going to bring 9x over on the other side so I can get it in y equals mx plus b form. So I get 3y is less than or equal to negative 9x plus 6. Divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. Now, if we had a negative 3y in here, we'd be dividing everything here by negative 3, and then you got, don't forget you'd have to switch that inequality sign, but we're not dividing by a negative 3 here. So you get y is less than or equal to negative 3x plus 2. So now that's in that nice form here. Here's my y-intercept is 2. Here's my slope, negative 3 over 1. So I'm going to come down 3 and over 1. Come down 3 over 1. And it's less than or equal to, so it's got to be a nice solid line here. It's got that equal sign in front of it, underneath it. So our last thing here is to go ahead and pick a point not on the line and then check it. So again, 0, 0 is not on that line. So 0, 0. So we get 0 plus 0 minus 6 is less than or equal to 0, so we get negative 6. Is that less than or equal to 0? Yes. So we're going to shade on the side where our point there, 0, 0 is. So there we have our nice graph. So that is how we graph linear inequalities. So just walk through the steps and you should be good with those. All right.